Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies. Welcome to the second A Cuppa with Extra Care Senior Leaders session that we're holding. You will recall that it was firstly A Cuppa with Kris, but I brought along some of my fabulous friends and colleagues from Extra Care. They're going to help me kind of give some information and updates around what's happening across both Housing 21 and Extra Care. We have Jamie, Caroline, and Tracy with us, who are all heads across the Extra Care business. So without further ado, I'll quickly start if that's okay. So it's we have our as we know we've got our extra care resident forum, which is fabulously chaired by one of our extra care residents in Kent, which is Ian. And they're doing some great work with us on service charges, communication, GDPR, what we can and what we can't say to residents, and what they want, what information they want. The forum are doing some really good work with us, and so we wanted to kind of just remind residents that if you are interested in being part of the Extra Care Resident Forum, to contact Ian. His email address is there, and he's very happy to hear from any residents that would like to be a part of the group, or actually just want to know what we're talking about, what's the Extra Care Resident Forum are talking about, and some of the actions and things that they're doing. Um, but they were also really interested to hear from any resident associations, and there's chairs of resident associations across the country. So again, if you are do have a resident association, or if you are in that resident association, please do reach out to Ian, because they're really keen to hear from all residents across extra care, and just to hear some of the challenges or things they would like to help improve. And the forum are doing that with us at the moment. We also recently carried out a round of resident board interviews, and we had over 100 applications from extra care residents across the country, which was brilliant. Lots of those were from extra care as well. And we recently appointed two residents to the Housing 21 board. They are Richard Dell from the Northwest in Manchester, and Ben and Anne Gollage from the Southwest. And they've just been appointed. I think they start from the 1st of August, so they've already started with us, and they'll be joining the Housing 21 board. But we're also reaching out to all those unsuccessful applicants that applied for the board. So we want them to be a part of the Extra Care Resident Forum. There were some brilliant applications and some great residents. So we're really encouraging those residents to also contact Ian and become part of the Extra Care Resident Forum. But I shall leave it there and hand over to Jamie, who will take you through some resident survey bits.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Jamie Lyndon Lewis, the head of Extra Care Central. So, September is a really important month for us in Housing 21 because it's time for our annual residents survey. And it's really important to us that we hear as many people as possible. We want to hear about your experience of living in Housing 21. And we definitely this year want to hear the majority, not the minority. Um, We've reviewed our process this year to make sure that it's as easy as possible for all residents to take part. Um, but what you can expect in the next coming weeks is for your local scheme to advertise what we're calling a survey event. We're very conscious that some people require help, so there's no better help than your neighbours to sit alongside, complete your survey in a survey event. Your survey events will take place at some point between the 2nd and the 21st of September. They might already be advertised, but if not, fear not. That will happen in the next couple of weeks. Our learning from last year was that residents told us the questions in the surveys weren't always particularly clear, and we have been asked to change the wording. Unfortunately, we can't. The wording is set out from the regulator, and we have to use that wording. But we have produced some guidance to help residents understand the survey questions, and the guidance is taken directly from the regulator. However, if you do attend the survey event, and I would encourage as many of you as possible to do so, then you'll have your neighbours beside you potentially can help. And a facilitator who will be independent from the scheme, who can also help explain what the questions mean using the regulator's description. And everyone loves a raffle, and because we want as many people to take part as possible, each scheme will run a local raffle where if you hand a completed survey to your scheme manager, you'll be given a raffle ticket, and a raffle will be drawn, and you potentially could win £50 gift voucher. So we hope that entices people to take part, because we really do want to hear as many people as possible so that we can make improvements in the future for our services and our homes. So in terms of the timeline, the manager will be required to send all of the completed surveys to Acuity, who are the independent company that run our survey, by the end of September. So it's really important that surveys are completed and handed in plenty of time so we can get them to the company, to Acuity, who can produce the results for us. Crucially, there will be some high level results in November, and that's where we get a sense at a top line from an organisational and business stream how things are looking and what people are telling us. The thing I think most people will be interested in is your scheme level results, and you would expect to see those during December. And at that point, there'll be an 8 week window where we will ask your scheme manager, so your housing manager, or housing and care manager, to hold a meeting with all the residents to present the results back and start that planning process of how do we improve results for next year. So this is the last time we get to see you all ahead of that event. So please do take part. We take them really, really seriously, and it's a really important tool for us improving our services to you. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Tracy.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. So in regards to resident service charges, we're just coming on to our budgeting time, which we generally do between November and December each year. So you'll know that we come out and we consult with residents around the service charges and we build the budgets together. So we've started to review the materials based on some of the feedback from residents' forums and also from our managers across the country as well. So in terms of the materials, they're due by the 23rd of August, and we're hoping to deliver to the resident forums for feedback in early September, and of course along to our senior leadership teams as well to make sure that everybody's happy with the content. In terms of what we're reviewing at the moment, we've got a new template for the service charge budget, which is a new guidance tool for managers. We've got a brand new frequently asked questions redesigned for residents and managers based on all of the questions that we've been asked over the last couple of years. And we've started to collate those to provide those into a booklet of guidance for residents. We've started to redesign the understanding of your service charge budget guide. So that looks slightly different. Hopefully this year it will be much more visible for residents and much more understandable for you to be able to look at. And then we've got a key differences document that's being designed as well. So we've been asked quite a lot around what is the difference, what's included between the rents and the service charges, what is housing benefit eligible and what isn't, and also what control residents have over their service charge. So what is it that you can really impact on driving those charges down and providing better value for money? And that's including some of that gardening contracts, window cleaning, and things that the local services that you can choose on site. We're hoping to have all of the assumptions that we put through to our exec and board and the draft budgets by the end of September, and then reviewed by operations by the end of October. And things that are included in that is generally the utilities and things that are not controllable by residents but are set by Housing 21. We're expecting all of our documents to be signed off and printed for residents by the end of November or before those budget meetings start to take place. And like I said, it'll be done in a bit of a booklet format for you. So hopefully it'll be much better design than last year. We've got post-meeting communications going out to residents as well. So once we've set those budgets, we'll be sending more communications out in January for you. We'll start to have some resident virtual drop-in sessions with our service charge accounts teams, and those will be set up for you to be able to jump onto and listen through to a bit like today. And then the final letters will go out to residents in February 2025, advising of the new service charge budgets. But we'll have lots more to come on this over the next month or so. So watch this space. And I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Caroline.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. Um, my part is just to update you on the resident complaints that we've received through the last year and comparing with the previous year. So, in line with expectations, obviously, the Housing Ombudsman and the Complaints Handling Code, we've reviewed our policies and our own self-assessment, working closely with the Resident Complaints Panel. We do acknowledge, we do monitor the acknowledgement and response times to make sure that we adhere to policy and expectations. So just a bit of an update on the resident views and engagement that has taken place through this year. The complaints panel has now increased. It has 5 members, mostly from retirement living. So we do need some more representation from extra care. We currently only have 1 member. So it would be good to have more interested parties to sit on that and be part of that discussion. Then looking at the complaints and summary of compliments from last year, we had a 16% increase in compliments. 73% of those were about the manager and the employees on the team. So it's good to see that our teams are continuing to work and their efforts are appreciated by the residents. Would like to see that number increase. Would like to see a lot more positive impact by the teams because we are committed to that. Regarding informal complaints, there was a 23% increase in informal complaints from 22-23, and the key themes, the highest issues that came through in the informal complaints were aftercare, repairs and maintenance, others. So a lot of the things that would affect people on a day-to-day basis. And I will say with the recent review from the regulator, we no longer have an informal complaint stage. We do have, it's now been redesigned as a service request. So all these issues would come through a service request, in that the first time you're unhappy about something, you contact the manager and the team and you try and resolve it at really an early stage. We want to be able to address failings. We do understand that we can't always get it right, but we want to resolve it as soon as possible. Coming to a stage 1 complaints from last year, there was an increase from 127 from 22-23 to 148. And again, the majority of those were about repairs. And I will say 31% were upheld, 40% were partially upheld, and 29% were not upheld. It's efforts again to bring early resolution. We do have, as part of our complaints process, we do have 3 stages or 2 stages as you may want to look at it. From stage 1 to stage 2, if you're not happy with the outcome at stage 1, we do invite that people actually have an opportunity to escalate their concerns. So for last year, we had 26% of the complaints that came through. These were escalated to stage 2, and that was 38 in numbers. And a lot of the majority of the cases that were escalated to stage 2 were about employees and housing services. So again, for us, it's a learning. We are a learning organisation, and it's something that we'll go back and review on how we can improve, even with training for our teams on how to manage complaints, how to resolve them at an earlier stage. 15% of these stage 2 complaints were upheld and 41 were partially upheld. So we do continue to learn, and we want to see that when it comes to next year, these figures will be on the downward trend. Finally, just to give you an update on the response times and how we perform, because we are, like I said at the beginning, we do monitor our response times to make sure that we adhere to the expectation. So 99% of all the complaints that we received were acknowledged within the target timescales. We want that to be 100%, and that is a target that we aim for. 93% of stage 1 complaints were responded to within the target time frame. Again, we want to push that to 100%. There are times that we, with the cases that these response target dates were not met. Some of them were sometimes not being able to engage with the complainant, and so we would have to extend and all that. So we want to improve our communication. 97%, I'm pleased to say, of our stage 2 responses were within target timescales. So as you can see, we are keen to make sure that we respond in a timely manner and try and resolve situations as early as possible, and also form part of a group to continue to learn from the situations that we encounter. So I will pass on to my colleague. I'll pass back to Tracy.
Brilliant. Thanks, Caroline. So, of course, hopefully you'll all know we've been celebrating our 60 years of Housing 21. So on Monday, 12th of August, it was the official birthday for Housing 21, 60 years of providing high quality housing with carer support for older people of modest means as a housing association. But of course, this wouldn't be possible without you, our residents. So we wanted to say a really big thank you for continuing to make Housing 21 a really great place to live. I've seen lots of photos and pictures already, from cowboy parties to rock and roll. So we know that you're having these parties out on your services at the moment and get-togethers. So celebrate with us to mark the special occasion. We're inviting you to share your favourite memories from your time at Housing 21. Of course, at your scheme, on social media by tagging us in. Thank Housing 21 employees that have gone above and beyond for you to support you by leaving a review on our Trustpilot page, and help us to choose the winners of our photography competition. As I just said, we've seen lots of pictures that have come through. We've picked some of those pictures now to go in for voting, and voting for the favourite photo on Facebook. You have till midday on Friday, 16th of August, to vote for your winner. And we'll be announcing all of those winners, the winner for that on Monday, 19th of August. So help us celebrate with you as well. But I'm going to hand over to Kris for our final slide.
Yeah, so I think this is just to thank you, Tracy, thank you, Caroline, thank you, Jamie. Please do feel free to help in any of the next kind of questions if there are any. I think I have seen one question on the Q&A, which is about the resident survey. And if this is anonymous, it absolutely is anonymous. So I know we'll be creating some environments where all residents and their families come together to help complete the surveys, but each of our residents' responses are anonymous. So we don't know who's responding to them. We will know the scheme collective responses. So we'll be able to say the overall satisfaction of a scheme, and the comments that you raise from your scheme will be included in that scheme report, in the extra care scheme report, but they are completely anonymous. So please don't be concerned about that. And the second question, which is a bit more challenging, how do we manage antisocial behaviour? So antisocial behaviour in our schemes is it can be really damaging and can create real problems for residents and families, and so we take it incredibly seriously. We can't always communicate what we're doing about antisocial behaviour because it will be very personal to a particular resident or family or different things that are happening. But we are undertaking a review of our antisocial behaviour policy and process, and that's been prompted by residents and thinking about how we might want to improve how we deal with antisocial behaviour. So I know our Extra Care Resident Forum will be heavily involved in that review process, but that's underway, reviewing the procedure, and we'll be really taking feedback from residents about what's working well, what's not working well, so we can improve our processes. And we also have just launched recently an unacceptable behaviour policy, which is slightly different to an antisocial behaviour policy or process, but it does address similar issues in terms of what is acceptable behaviour or isn't in our schemes. But it isn't quite the same as antisocial behaviour. That's a slightly different process. So we'll be sharing all those with you, our residents, but also, as I said, for the new antisocial behaviour review, we'll be engaging with residents, because ultimately it needs to work for residents as well as employees. So please look out for that. And as I said right at the beginning, I know our Extra Care Resident Forum will be heavily involved in that process, Ian and the residents. So if you'd have a particular interest and want to be part of that forum, that's a great place to help us make some really positive changes, which you heard from Tracy on the service charge changes just they are really heavily involved in making sure that works for all of our residents. So the resident forum are really driving those changes for us, for all residents. So if you do have a particular interest, please do come back to Ian, and we'll get you involved in that group. What I will say, I don't think there are any more questions, is on the screen there, you can see Charlie Wilshire's email. If you have any questions following this, before the next one, or just generally have any questions that you'd like the group, my team, and the Extra Care team to answer as part of this kind of session, please do send them in, and we'll make sure we answer every question that comes our way. So thank you again to Tracy, Caroline and Jamie for supporting me with a few little updates. As I said, this is our second one we've done. If you have any general feedback about how we do these, it'd be brilliant, because we're still kind of learning and trying to get the right level of information across in a different format. But thank you for taking the time to listen as well. I know many of you listen back, so if you do hear this and want to pop a question in, just let us know. But thank you again. Have a lovely rest of your week, and hopefully the sun continues to shine, and we'll see you again very shortly. Take care now.